So let's come back here. Balance is less than 1800. It is true. For this observation, it is true. Now it comes to this side and it ends up in this particular node. And in this node, 97% of the observations belong to no class. So that is why for us, for this observation, our prediction is going to be no. It's as simple as using this rule, and using this rule, we are coming up with this particular prediction. Let's say another observation, 2200, and this is 38,000, and this is yes. And what is going to be the prediction for this? As per this rule, if balance is less than 1800, false, because balance is greater than 1800, it's 2200. So that means this observation will come to this node now. Next, check the other rule. Balance is less than 1972. No, that's also not right. So balance is greater than 2200. So that means it will come to this node. In this node, 76% of the observations belong to the class S. And that is why our prediction would be S. We might not be right all the time, but we are going to make our decisions based on what is the majority of these observations in this node. And that's how we make our future decisions. So when you know these three values, you know how to predict the future value. How is it possible? Because we have this tree which helps us in that decision making. The next question is, how did we ended up with this tree? How did we generate these rules? That's where it becomes very tricky. That's where we have to learn how a tree-based algorithm works. Using this tree for decision making is very simple. Now, when you have, let's say, one last no, 1900 and 22,000. For this observation, what is the prediction? First, let us check balance. Balance is 1900. Is it less than 1800? No. That means this observation will end up into this node. Again, we will check if it is less than 1972. Yes, it is less than 1972. So that means the observation will end up in this node. Now, if income is less than 27,000, is it true? Yes, it is true. So income is less than 27,000. So the observation, this observation ended up in this node. And in this node, 69% of them belong to no class. So our prediction would be like, this is also going to be no. So if it ends up in this node and this node, in these two nodes, majority is S class. 76% of them belongs to S class, 59% of them belongs to S class. So when the observation end up in these two nodes, our prediction is going to be yes. Our prediction is going to be yes. If our observation ends up in these two nodes, then our prediction is going to be no. The prediction is going to be no. That's how this decision tree is used for decision making. Okay. For decision making, it is fine. But first step is from this training data. So this data, which we are going to use to generate this tree, is called as training data. And when we pass the training data to an algorithm, so this is our training data, and we pass this training data to an algorithm, and this algorithm will try to generate a model as an output. And using this model, we can always make predictions in future. So that's how the process is. Right now we are here. We have some training data. We passed the training data to an algorithm. It generated this model, and this model is nothing but a decision tree. And using this tree, in future, if I get an observation, I know how to predict these values, from this particular observation, right? Now let's talk about this process where we pass the training data to an algorithm and it is about to generate a model. What happens inside this training process? So this process is called as the training process. What happens inside this training process so that it comes up with this particular decision tree over here? Okay, so far so good. Let's see if there are any questions. Okay, then let's move on to the basic concept of a tree. In a tree, we start with root node. So this one here is called as the root node. And from the root node, we will propagate down to the leaf nodes. So this is the root node. This is called as the intermediate nodes. And this is called as the leaf nodes, or also called as decision nodes. Now let's start with the root node. So this is my root node. What is there in the root node? We have a training data. And training data looks like this: x1, x2, x3, and y. x1, x2, x3 are our input variables, and y is our target variable. For our simplicity, let's say we have 1,000 observations. N is equal to 1,000. So out of these 1,000 observations that we have, 600 belong to no class and 400 observations belongs to S class. So in our data, we have 600 observations that belongs to no class and 400 observations that belongs to S class. So this is where we are starting with, at the root node. At the root node, I have 600 observations, 1,000 observations, and out of them, 600 observations belong to no class and 400 observations belong to S class. So that's like 60% belongs to no class and 40% belongs to S class. What is the majority observations here? No class. So that is why on the root node, we just labeled it as no, because this is the majority and always every node is labeled with majority. So majority here is no. So we would label this node as no. Fine. We have started with this. Next, we want to split these observations into two smaller nodes. Why only two? We can split for more, but CART works on the principle of binary partitions. We would all the time create two partitions from one node. So it purely works on binary partitions. There are other tree algorithms which works on non-binary partitions, but CART purely works on binary partitions. Now, when we split this data out of these 1,000 observations, let's say some 700 observations came here and 300 observations came here. Now, out of these 700 observations that came here, let's say 550 observations belong to no class. So we would just represent this as no. And 150 observations belongs to S class. And on the other side, out of this 300, 50 observations belongs to no class and 250 observations belongs to S class. Now you might be asking this question. How did we separate these observations? How did we get 700 observations here? And how did we get 300 observations here? So here we apply something called as a split criteria. So this is the split criteria. Balance less than 1800. Balance is one of the input variable and we are applying the split criteria. So like this, let's say I pick the split criteria, which is like this: x2 less than some p. That's my split criteria. When I split with this condition, x2 less than p, 700 observations satisfied that condition, yes, this side. 300 observations did not satisfy that condition, no, this side. Okay, so this is called as the split criteria. Now, the next question that we would naturally get is, how did we choose the split criteria? Why only x2 less than p? Why not x1 less than k? Why not x3 less than some m? There can be n number of possible split conditions, split criteria. What split criteria will we use to separate these parent node to two child nodes? So that's, if we answer these two questions, then just believe me, we know how tree works. So the whole essence of how decision tree works will rely on these two questions. How did we separate? We separated with a split criteria. But how did we choose the split criteria? That's, if we answer these two questions, we know how decision trees are going to work, right? Fine. Now let's understand how we can answer this. How did we choose the split criteria? What is the reason we are trying to split this data? There has to be some objective, right? Without split, when we trying to split observations that are present in the root node into two smaller child nodes, there has to be some clear motivation in doing that. Otherwise, there is no point of splitting this node into two smaller nodes, right? So the objective of this split is, compared to the parent node, in the child nodes, we want to have better separation between these two classes. It's a binary classification problem. So binary classification means our target variable y can take two values like no and s. In some cases, target variable y can take more than two values, though it is classification. For example, if you want to separate some flowers into different species, there can be 5-6 species of flowers. So you want to separate them into 5-6 species based on certain measurements of the flower, like what is the Petal length, what is the sepal length, right, etc. So in that case, it's called multi-class classification, but here it is just a binary classification. So our target value can only take these two, either yes or it is no. So that's why it is called as a binary classification problem. Now in this objective, I have a root node with 1000 observations. Out of them, 600 belong to no and 400 belong to yes. I want to separate them into two smaller nodes in such a way that in the smaller nodes, we have better separation between the ratios of no and yes. Here it is 60-40. So this is like 60%, 40%. And I want to improve these ratios to even much better. Here maybe we have like 82% and roughly 18%. And here it could be like maybe 50, right? Just like 1/6 of it. So 1:6 ratio. So 1:5 ratio of it, right? So this could be like 20% versus 80%. You can clearly see at root node, the separation is 60-40, but at the parent node, it has improved. It has improved in the sense one class became more and other class became less. Here, the 550 observations, this is not 82, it could be less than that, right? So let's say it is 80-20 again. So here we have more observations that belong to no class, and here we have more observations that belong to S class, right? So if we can do that separation, then it is good. Now we know this criteria is able to separate these observations which belongs to no class and which belongs to S class. But how can we say that the separation has improved if it is instead of 80-20, if it can be something else? If it is, let's say again 60-40 here, or if it is like 40-60 here, again, there is no improvement. At the root node also I have 60-40, and at the child nodes also I have 60-40. Even to make worse, if it is like 50-50 here, it might not be possible, but just I'm saying for the sake of argument, if it is like 50-50, it is even worse. At least here I have 60-40. Here in one of the sides I have only 50-50, right? So this is worse, this is worse, this is better. Now, how do we decide if the split is worse or if the split is better? So for that, we need to use a metric. And that metric is typically called as measure of impurity. And there are many measures for this. The commonly known measures are called as entropy and Gini index. So these are the common measures that are used for measuring how good a split is. Now, what is this measure of entropy? Measure of impurity. Measure of impurity is at a node always. Let's say I have 5 observations that belongs to no class and 5 observations that belong to S class here. Now, we want to measure how impure this node is. Measure the impurity of this node. So for that, we can use these two formulas. One is called entropy, another one is called Gini index. Here I would go with Gini index, which is typically measured as 1 minus sigma pi by t whole square. So this is the formula. Now let's put some data into it so that all of us understand very well. For this node, I is equal to 1 to 2. It's binary, so it is like 1 to 2. The number of classes. How many number of classes we have? 2 here. So for the first class, 1 minus sigma. For the first class, we have 5 observations. So 5 by 10 whole square minus, again, we have 5 observations for the next class. So 5 by 10 whole square. So that is like 1 minus 1 by 4 plus 1 by 4, which is like 1 minus 1 by 2, 1 by 2, 0.5. So for this node, the Gini index says it is 0.5. Now let's try to compute it for some other node. Let me erase parts of it so that it will be easy for us. I will write the other node here. This is another node for us. In this node, 5 observations belong to no class, 0 observations belong to yes class. Now what is the impurity here? Let's measure it. 1 minus sigma, I am taking it away, 5 by 5 whole square plus 0 by 5 whole square. If you remember, if you look at the formula, pi is nothing but the number of observations for the ith class. For class n, you have 5, so that's why 5, and total is also 5. So 5 by 5 whole square plus, for the next class, 0 divided by 5 whole square. So this is like 0. So for a perfectly pure node, it is perfectly pure node. Why? 100% observations belong to 0 class and 0% observations belong to yes class. So that's why this is a perfectly pure node. For a perfectly pure node, Gini index will be 0. And for a perfectly impure node, Gini index will be 0.5. So Gini index will vary between 0 to 0.5. 0 means pure, 0.5 means impure. Closer to 0 pure, closer to 0.5 impure. So based on this Gini index, we will decide when we split something whether it has improved or not. Now let's see how we decide whether when we split something whether it has improved or not. I purposefully did not put all of these in presentation, because if it is presentation, I can quickly walk through, but people would not understand. But hand calculating it will give you better learning experience. So that's why I did not purposefully put these calculations into the presentation. Feel free to stop and ask if you need more details. I'll be more than happy to help you. Okay. So you have 600 observations that belong to no, 400 observations that belong to yes. We did split this at the root node. So we will call this as Gini index 0. Gini index 0, just to indicate that it is at the root node, right? 1 minus 600 by 1000 whole square plus 400 by 1000 whole square. So then it's like 1 minus, let's say this is almost close to this one. It will be 0.1 approximately. So this is 0.4. So at the root node, we have a Gini of 0.4. Now, when we split this, let's say we got this 550, 150, and on the other side, 50 and 250. So this is yes, this is no, this is yes, this is no. We have to measure the entropy on both the sides. So this is called the left-hand child, and this is called as the right-hand child. So on the left-hand child, it will be minus 550 by 700 whole square plus 150 by 700 whole square, which is probably going to be roughly around 0.1, assuming that it's 0.1. And here on the right hand side, it would be 1 minus 50 by 300 whole square plus 250 by 300 whole square. So this is again somewhat going to be like 0.1, sorry, 0.4. This is going to be 0.1. On the left hand side, we got 0.1. On the right hand side also, we got 0.1. But we have to measure if the overall split is good. It's not whether this node is pure, this node is impure, whether this node is pure, this node is impure, right? So for the split, we generally take a average of these two. So how do we take the average of two? 0.1 on the left hand side. So 0.1 into the weightage. How many observations are there? 700 divided by 1000 plus on the right hand side. On the right hand side, we have 0.1 into what is the weightage? 300 divided by 1000. So the weighted average of this is again going to be 0.1. At the root node, it was 0.4. At the first split level, it is decreased to 0.1. So that means the purity has improved. If it has not decreased, the purity has not improved. Since it has decreased from 0.4 to 0.1, we can consider, yeah, it has improved, right? So that is how we decide whether a split is good or not. In other words, we call this as whether a split is informative or not. If the split is informative, then we should be able to decrease this from the root node. At the root node, it was 0.4, and from the root node to this level, we have reduced it to 0.1. So that means it is good. If it has not decreased, then it is not good, right? So that's how we decide whether splitting a root node into two child nodes is improving it or not improving it, right? Now keep that in mind. Now let's get back to these questions. How did we choose the split criteria? We have three variables, x1, x2, x3. Let's first iterate within x1. In x1, we have 10 split levels available. That is like, let's write the split levels simply like x1 less than 2, x1 less than 3, x1 less than 4, x1 less than 5. So these are the 10 splits that are available. Now, out of these 10 splits in x1, let's say x1 less than 5 is giving us a drop of 0.1. This is giving 0.2, this is giving 0.23, this is giving 0.3, this is giving 0.4. Which split within x1 is giving you the highest amount of drop compared to the root node? For the variable x1, it is definitely x1 less than or equal less than 5. So within this variable x1, this is the best split. x1 less than 5 is the best split. Now repeat this process with x2